Welcome to the Geary and Stein Sports Show. Alongside Will Stein, I'm Troy Geary. Our podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and Google, as various other platforms. Check your favorite streaming site for our show. On today's show, we're joined by former Michigan State alum, 11th overall pick by the Minnesota Vikings in the 2015 NFL Draft, and also member of the Cincinnati Bengals, and currently has the business called Homegrown Outfitters, a hunting outfitter service, and making his debut on the Sportsman channel, Trae Waynes. Trae, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. All right, Will, what do you got for Trae to start out here?
So we've known each other from our days in Minnesota together. I've seen you prepare for training camps and all that good stuff. I've seen some of your stuff on Homegrown Outfitters and of the Grind TV. We know how hunting season is. We know how football season is. What's tougher, preparing for a football season or preparing for a hunting season?
That's a very interesting question. I would say they're both hard in their own way. But they're also very similar. I would say for football and like for hunting, it's a year-round kind of a deal. I mean, because you know a lot of football players and you've been around the game a lot. When you prepare for a season, you don't really have any off time, especially depending on how deep you guys go into the playoffs. Like if you make it, like, for example, we were just in the Super Bowl and, you don't really have that much off time before you got to start OTAs and all that kind of stuff. So I would say for football is hard just because you don't really have a break. Because even after the season, I mean, guys will probably give themselves 2-3 weeks off maybe. And then, you're starting to, prepare for OTAs because you want to show up in shape. So I would say that's hard too, just because, I mean, football season really never ends because you're constantly training, having to stay in shape, and, preparing for the upcoming season and practice and stuff like that. But also from the hunting standpoint, when it comes to our specific business, we're constantly doing stuff year round as well. We have guys out there every single day working on like food plots, land renovations, filming for our upcoming shows. Like it's constantly working 24/7. And that's part of our deal. It's like loving the grind is 24/7 kind of a deal all the time, 365. So I would say they're both hard. Obviously, I would say football is a little more physically hard on the body. But the hunting part, like I said, I mean, we're putting just as much or more hours into the getting ready for hunting. So when the clients come in, it's like 5-star all the way. And, trying to give them the experience of a lifetime. So where football, it's like you're preparing yourself, to where the hunting is we're preparing for the clients. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's like you miss a soybean by a week in June, and all of a sudden you miss $25 that come on your land, and the hunter's like, man, I came out with nothing.
Yeah, and it's also hard because, I mean, you got the weather and, that kind of stuff you got to work around with too when it comes to like planning, food plots and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, not only is it challenging for what we're doing, it's also weather dependent as well sometimes.
Awesome. You've been best friends with Melvin Gordon since high school. How has that relationship helped you during the pre-draft process beforehand and then in the NFL?
I would say it helped pre-draft just because it's something we got to go through together. And that's something and actually a couple of our friends were able to go through. I mean, just the whole collegiate process. I had a couple of really close friends that we all played D1 and stuff like that. So we were able to experience that part together. But it was interesting because out of our group of friends, Melvin was probably the highest rated player or more sought after player, to where we all went D1, but our journeys getting D1 was a lot different. Especially, it was hard because being from Wisconsin, Wisconsin's not known for, let's say skill positions. So it was really hard for me because I'm in a state where it's a lot of old school kind of football play where it's just like, we're just going to run it down your throat. And that's how a majority of the high schools played football. Like, we're just going to run because they're known for big linemen, running backs, linebackers, stuff like that. The bigger, heavier positions, to where if you were like a receiver, like a corner, like it wasn't really in your favor because you're in a run heavy state. So that was hard for me, to where it worked in Melvin's favor because, he would get the ball, a lot during the game. So it gave him a lot of opportunities to showcase him as a running back, to where me playing corner, they maybe threw the ball twice and it wouldn't even be to my side. So in high school, I was kind of like a safety, just in the box, downhill safety, playing the run. And, I got to the cornerback position because I was a camp kid. So I had to go to all these collegiate camps, and that's what I played. I played corner. So, like I said, our group of friends, we all ended up going Division I, but our journeys there were completely different because, Melvin, he was, a highly rated player in the country. A lot of colleges knew about him, but like me and my other friends, like Joe Keels, Gino, DiBartolo, like we were kids that had a little harder time getting there because of the exposure standpoint. But going into pre-draft, I think it was a really cool experience to have Melvin there too, because it was something I could go through with him and we could experience together rather than just trying to figure it out on my own. And then in the NFL, like it was good to have him there too, just because, like I said, we were just going through a lot of the same experiences. Like, we got drafted around the same time. So we were going to the camp the same time. Like everything I experienced, he was experiencing as well. So like if me or him were struggling with anything, like we could always reach out to each other because they were going through it too.
Awesome.
Oh. So obviously, with you being a big hunting guy, from your days in Minnesota, you had two coaches that were avid hunters, Bud Grant, the legend, and Mike Zimmer. What did you pick up out of Mike Zimmer and Bud Grant from a hunting perspective that would make you a better hunter and determine what you wanted when you were in the field or in a stand on a Saturday morning looking for that bow or doe or buck that you're wanting to seek after to bring home to have mounted on your wall?
Honestly, nothing. Just because, when I was there for football, like for me, like that's all it was. It was like strictly business. It was football. That's my job. I actually didn't really get involved with hunting up until maybe my fourth year-ish. It was kind of a unique situation because initially we started it because I'm gonna try to make it all make sense. So initially it started as an investment thing. And, the plan was to, purchase land for, fairly cheap, make some improvements to it, hold on to it for a couple of years and then sell, for hire. But as we started getting more and more properties, I came up with the idea like, well, shit, we have all this, land that, is in prime hunting country in Wisconsin. Why aren't we, selling hunts off of it? So I brought it to one of my good friends' attention, who is an avid outdoorsman, and he actually really liked the idea as well. So he's the one who helped me, I would say, get this outfitting business off the ground, because like I said, we had the property and the land already, but we weren't utilizing it for hunts. We were just using it as an investment property, and we'll make some renovations, improvements to it, and then sell it in a couple of years. And then I was like, well, why don't we do this hunting deal? Because we have the resources. And that's how that kind of started homegrown. And that's, I would say, we started that process, I would say my 4th year in Minnesota, and then it just escalated from there and grew from there as well.
Awesome. You were a part of many great Michigan State teams, but I want to ask you specifically about the 2013 season, 15-1 Big Ten champs, and you won a Rose Bowl against Stanford.
Yeah.
What do you remember most about that season?
I remember most, we got snubbed. You can ask anybody on that team. We were the best team in the nation that year, and I'm not one of those guys that would just say it to say it, but we really felt we were. And then after watching the national championship game, we knew we could have won that game, as well. And if you go back, the only reason we didn't make it to the national championship was because we lost one game to Notre Dame. And if you go back and watch that game, all you have to type in is whatever year that was, is Michigan State, Notre Dame PI calls. Like it was probably the worst game I've ever been a part of when it came to penalties. Like it was a close game, but it was early in the season and we were trying to figure out a starting quarterback at that point. But me and Darquez, we were just getting murdered with PI calls, and it was to the point I was getting frustrated. And like if I got a PI call or something like that, I'd go. There was several PI calls that were on me, and I would go back to the bench, like with the coaches, like Mark D'Antonio and Coach Barnett, my position coach, and I'd be like, what do you guys want me to do? And they would literally tell me like, we don't even know what to tell you to do because you're playing exactly how we're coaching you. And it's like the calls were bogus. Like there was one call, it was actually on, I think it was David Robinson's son. I don't even know his name, but there was a picture of it. He's on my back, like, cause we're going for a ball and he's probably like 6'5" or some shit. I don't know, but we're making a play on the ball and I'm like diving for it. And the picture is him on my back and I get called for a PI. And like, it was just one of those games that were just like you could ask any Michigan State fan, like, it was just one of those games you're just like, they really got robbed that game. Cause it was like some of these calls, like I said, I'm not going to make excuses or whatever, but if you go back and watch, it's on YouTube. If you go watch like Michigan State, Notre Dame penalty, like PI calls, like you'll see some of the, like some, okay, might've been, but like some you're like, wow, like that's, you even hear the announcers like in the game, they're like, I don't know about that one. But it was just, I would say that's to me sticks out the most about that season because I knew how special a team we had. And, we could have won it all that year. I mean, the Rose Bowl was great. That was our goal. And, we did it, but we really believed we could have, won the whole thing. Cause that's the year, Darquez won the Thorpe. And I think we were like, top 3 defenses in the country or something. Like everything was clicking. And, I think it was an all around great season, but I think that's the one thing that sticks out to a lot of guys the most is we could have, been the best, but it is what it is, part of the game. So.
All right, Will, what do you got?
So speaking of big games, since we're just talking about the Rose Bowl, what did it feel like suiting up for a Super Bowl in Los Angeles back in February?
So for me, it was a weird experience. Like it didn't feel like a Super Bowl to me, because like I mean, my time in Cincinnati has just been injuries, and that's you being a Vikings fan. That's something that I never really experienced being in Minnesota. Like I got hurt, but I've never been, injured to the point where I'm missing the whole season or like 15 weeks out of the year. So, 2 years ago when I first came to Cincinnati, I tore my pec in a freak lifting accident, out for the season. It's like, okay. So then, this past year, I'm like, all right, now I'm going to, be the starter. I'm going to, do my thing. Tore my hamstring. I ended up tearing it twice because I tore it the first time in camp, I believe. Yeah, I think I tore it in summer camp. And then I was out for 6 or 7 weeks. I don't remember. Came back, tweaked it, but it was one of those situations where I was like, you know what? I didn't come here to sit on the bench. I didn't come here to be hurt. Like, I'm gonna go. So I told my coach, I'm like, hey, like, I tweaked it, but I'm fucking playing. Like, I'm sick of sitting out. So I ended up playing, made it through the Thursday night game. Then it's Green Bay. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I love playing Green Bay, you know, whatever. So I'm playing that game. That was the week I tweaked it. And I'm like, I'm playing this game. I make it through the whole game. And then the last play in overtime, my hamstring tears again. The exact same one, but higher up in a worse spot, closer to the ligament or whatever the fuck. So now I'm out another 12 weeks or whatever it is. So now I'm damn near out another entire season. So it's like by the time we get to the Super Bowl, I miss most of the season. And I'm just like, okay, like it's a great experience. But for me, it's like I personally I enjoyed it, but I don't think I got the full experience just because as a competitor, I felt I didn't do my part to contribute getting there because like I said, I came here to be a starter and like do all this stuff. And, you know, unfortunately injuries happened. And then I was supposed to play in the Super Bowl. Well, I played a little bit, but I was supposed to, you know, go in, but I ended up getting hurt again. I had messed up my ankle. And so I missed the second half of the Super Bowl, which was frustrating because I was supposed to be out there playing. And then when I was supposed to go out there, I was like, guys, like, I can't fucking run. I can barely walk because my ankle's jacked up. So it's frustrating for me just because, and I told my wife this after the game. I was like, there's nothing more frustrating knowing you're supposed to be out there, but you physically can't because your body's just failing on you. And, you know, that's hard, you know, as an athlete. But I mean, it was overall a cool experience. I mean, I wish the outcome would have been different, but, you know, it was something cool to be around. So I can't complain too much about it.
All right, in 2015, you were drafted 11th overall by the Vikings. And the draft that year was in Chicago, a couple hours from your hometown.
Not even. It was like 45 minutes.
Okay, 45 minutes. What do you most remember about that day, sitting in the green room and waiting for your name to be called?
So it's kind of a funny story. Like when I got drafted by Minnesota, I was Will, don't be mad at me. I'm gonna explain it, but I was kind of like pissed off. I was kind of pissed off about it. And I was mad because all the draft projections, all that stuff, whatever, it's like, oh, he's going to Minnesota. I was like, all right, cool. So, but usually, you know, as you get to that point, your agent usually has an idea of where you're going to go because they talk to like the GMs and the coach and all that shit. So we get to the green room and I'm thinking Minnesota or whatever. And so I looked at my agent, I'm like, all right, so what's happening? You know, and he looks at me and I kid you not, he said, Minnesota said they're not taking me. And I'm like, okay, fuck them. Like, they don't want me. I don't want to go there. Like, that's what he told me. He's like, Minnesota's not taking me. That's what they said. Now, I don't know if it was like Rick playing mind games with people to make it seem like they're not going to get me. So, like, I'm still on the board. I don't know. But he's like, Minnesota's not taking me. They said they're not taking me. I was like, all right, cool. Fuck them. I don't want to go there anyways. Like, it's, and like, to me, like, I've never been there before. So, like, I was just like, all I knew was it was a colder version of Wisconsin where I'm from. So I'm like, cool. I just dodged the bullet. Granted, Minnesota's a beautiful place. We loved it there. Really nice state. It is cold as hell, but overall, it's, you know, a great place to be. So he tells me that. So I'm like, whatever. I don't even care. I don't want to go there anyway. So like, it's freezing. So then I'm like, all right, so what is it looking like? And he's like, well, you can go as high as 7 to Chicago, which I was like, cool. Like, I'm right down the street. I want to go there. Or you can go to the Rams and anybody after Minnesota. So I'm like, all right. So like, there's a lot of good options out there. Teams I would love to play for. So let's do it. So Minnesota's on the clock. So I'm not even looking at my fucking phone. Like, my phone's on the table. I'm like off in La La Land. And all of a sudden it starts ringing. And I look at it and it's like a Minnesota area code. I look at my agent. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, what the fuck, dude? So I was like, in my head, like, I would say I'm very stubborn. So like, I hold like grudges and shit. So I was already like, I wrote Minnesota off the table. I'm like, fuck them. Like, in my head, I'm like, I don't want to go there anyway. So my phone started ringing and I looked at him like, no. I was like, what the fuck? So I was already like pissed off. So I'm like, they called me, and then I'm like, yeah. So like, if you watch the whole fucking draft video or whatever, like, I mean, I'm happy, but like, there's not really a smile on my face. So I'm like, I had already written Minnesota off. So I'm like, I was already in my head. I was holding a grudge. I was like, they said they didn't want me. I don't want to. So like, I'm like, oh yay, Minnesota, great. Like, but I was like kind of upset. So I'm like, dude, what the fuck? You literally told me they did not want me, and now they fucking called me. So I'm like, I had emotions that were like, dude, you just got drafted first round, but then it's like you're still holding a grudge from when your agent said they wanted nothing to do with you. So it was a weird, interesting process for me, but I mean, it all worked out. So
Awesome. Well,
Wow. That's interesting. I never knew that story before.
yeah, I mean, I don't really tell him, but yeah, now that I'm gone, it's like whatever. Who cares?
Right. So let's see. So let me ask you, what caused you to cut your hair? Because I always remember the dreadlocks, all
Yeah.
that.
I had always said once I was done playing, I was gonna cut them. So I mean, I thought about cutting them a while ago, but you know, for me, I've had them for like 15 years, and for me, it's like, well, it was really a part of who I was as a football player. And it's like, you know, once football is done, it's like, to me, I've always been like, well, football players are more than just football players, you know, and a lot of people don't realize that. So it's like, for me, I was like, when I'm done playing, they're coming off, and, you know, I'm going to bury it with my football career. And it's like time to start a new chapter in my life, and just, you know, I can be somebody else rather than just a football player. And it's actually really nice being able to walk places without being recognized, because people really know me for the hair. And, you know, ever since, because I mean, you know, like, you see me in airports, I don't wear like, I'm not flashy. I'm pretty low key, try to stay hidden. And it's funny because like you always, you know, can point me out and shit. But it's like, I told my wife, I was like, damn, it's like really nice walking through somewhere, not having like a hood up, worrying about people recognizing me, and I can just walk and not, and just be left alone, not be recognized. And I mean, it's a nice feeling. So
so are you officially retiring, or you think you still keeping the door open?
I mean, it's open, but I'm not really exploring anything, to be honest with you. Like, teams have called, multiple teams have actually called, and I'm honestly, like, in my head, I'm done. Like, but I'm not officially doing it, you know, I'd say, just because I don't give a shit. But, you know, I'm retired, but like I said, it's not like I announced it or anything and whatever. And I almost went to Philly to go back with JG and Ant, but, you know, at that point, I was like, you know, I'm ready to be done. You know, could I easily keep playing several more years? Yes, but, you know, I got a family. I want to be around with my kids more, and, you know, with all the stuff happening with these former players, you know, it kind of makes you nervous. And it's like, you know, for me, I want to look out for myself and, you know, my physical and mental, you know, health, because at the end of the day, you know, if I played, let's say 14, 15 years, and, you know, I'm 40 and my body's beat to shit, you know, it's not going to affect anybody else but me or in my family. So it's like, I want to take care of myself and make sure I'll be, you know, able to take care and be there for my family when football is said and done. Because at the end of the day, if I can't fucking walk, I mean, what's a sports fan gonna do? Like, nothing. Is gonna keep being a fan of a sport while, you know, I'm the one dealing with the day-to-day health issues from playing for so long and playing a sport that's not ideal for the human body. So, you know, for me, I played, I, you know, lived the dream. I did it. I made enough money to where I can take care of my family. And it's like, you know, being able to walk away on my own terms was always something I wanted to do. And, you know, I was never that guy that wanted to die on the football field, however you want to say. Because like I said, you know, having kids put, you know, stuff in a whole different perspective for me. And, you know, I tell, you know, Melvin and some of my good friends all the time, they're like, well, why are you, you know, walking away so early? Like, you can still play. It's like, yeah, I know, but, you know, there's more to life than just football. And I want to be able to enjoy life outside of football without limping or like, walking in pain all the time and doing stuff like that. So it's bittersweet, but I know at the end of the day, it's probably the right decision because, like I said, I was telling them if I didn't have a family, I'd be a completely different player, different person. And, I'd still probably be playing because I don't have to worry about other people other than just myself. So.
Okay. So next Tuesday, the 28th, you make your debut on the Sportsman channel. Kind of give us a preview about what to expect for those that will be tuning into that.
Yeah, so it's pretty much like a little intro video kind of a deal to our season and stuff like that. But I sent Will a couple of our YouTube links, and essentially it's just what I said before. It's about loving the grind, and whether it's like football, whether it's radio or anything you're doing, it's just love what you do because you'll reap the benefits from it. And we got a couple of short clips of previous hunts we have done, and it's just a overall innovative, different experience to hunting. We feel like we're changing the game hunting wise because of the things we're doing, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it, and I'm really excited for it.
Awesome. Go ahead.
I'm really excited to see it too. Like I showed you earlier today, I already have it set for my recording on my DVR. It's like, this is going to be unbelievable. And when I saw all the preparation and all the stuff that you guys go through to prepare for 8 days of gun season in November or September through January for bow, it's like, wow, you guys do all this stuff just to
it's a lot. Because like I said, we want to be like 5-star, best of the best. We want to change the game. So, we have a professional chef come for opening camp, and like he'll cook this amazing dinner, and like he'll prep the guys. It's a really cool experience. And we have guys that, it's funny, they'll text us when they're leaving camp saying we're already missing camp. So it's like we want to create like that experience for people, not only just the hunting part, but like as a family, and a really enjoyable experience overall.
So somebody that wants to book a hunt at one of your properties, how do they get in contact to do that?
So all of our information is on our website online. Unfortunately, we're completely booked out through 2024. Because like part of our strategy is we don't, overpressure our properties. And, for those who aren't familiar with hunting, is we don't just throw, 10 guys on a farm and say, all right, now go shoot something. And like, we try to practice like deer management and stuff like that. And what that means is, if the deer is young, we're going to let them live and grow bigger and stuff like that and become that trophy deer, to where I know some places, their motto is if it's brown is down. Like they don't care the age, they don't care the size, stuff like that. So like for us, like our rule is, 100 per 100 acres. So it's like, we're not just flooding, that property with a whole bunch of guys just shooting stuff. And, we're letting the young ones live. And we also, part of that strategy is we hunt every other week. So like we'll be on a week and then we'll be off a week, instead of just pressure, hunt every single week we can, every day we can, and just scare all the deer away. So like I said, we're different, I think, because of how we go about the whole process. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. And I think a lot of people respect that, which is why we're sold out through 2024, because, of the success we've shown because of the strategies we chose to do.
Awesome.
No doubt. And my father always told me, if you shoot it, you got to clean it. It's like, really? It's the most. I was like 10, 11 years old when I was looking. It's like, hey, you can shoot it, but if you shoot it, you got to clean it. You got to get your hands dirty.
Oh yeah.
Myself, I'm a
well, luckily
10-year-old
we do all that for you, so we'll do all that for you.
Hey, that's part of the 5-star experience, though, right?
Oh yeah, we take care of everything. We got guides, we got everything.
Cool.
Awesome. So yeah, you got a YouTube channel, Love the Grind TV.
Yep. That's gonna be our TV as well.
Okay. And then you're on Instagram also.
Yep.
What's your handle for that?
It should be. I think it's pretty much the same. I think again, it's all on the website, but I think it's like Love the Grind TV, and then we got Homegrown Outfitters. So to kind of put it all in perspective, so Homegrown Outfitters is the actual hunting outfitter, and then Love the Grind TV, that's like the YouTube / TV show. But Love the Grind is actually our land renovation company as well. So what that is like that's like our land management, whatever, property or company, and like people will hire us out to come basically do to their properties what we do to ours. So we're like a consulting / land management company as well. So like, for example, we had a property in I believe it was Iowa that a guy had us come out, and we walked his field for hours, and we came up with a plan to basically help improve his hunting property. And we did that for him, and he paid us for that. So yeah, so we have the outfitting business, we have the TV business, the show business, and we have a land management business.
Sweet.
It's kind of confusing, but yeah.
So yeah, Sportsman Channel next Tuesday premiere. It's on DirecTV, Fubo TV, Sling. So check your local providers for that. Anything else, Will?
So I know, let's go back to our time in Minnesota for a little bit, since we talked about Minnesota a little bit. What did it feel like being on the Minneapolis Miracle sideline when Stephon caught that?
Honestly, like, it's so funny, and like I said, I don't care because I'm done playing anymore. But like, it was a really funny experience. And I don't know if you talk to Marcus, he could tell you the same thing. But we were on the bench, right? And like, his obviously defense was done or whatever. And we were actually talking about, oh, so where are you guys going for this offseason? So I was talking to Marcus, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. What are you doing? I was like, shit, I'm about to book my flight to Florida right after this, because I mean, nobody thought we were gonna win or whatever. We thought it was over. And yeah, I was like, shit, I'm about to book my flight to Florida after this. And all of a sudden, Diggs catches it. We're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, we're all talking about like where we're going for vacation. They're like, shit, never mind. So like after it happened, we're like, is there any flags? Is there any like, is it like an actual touchdown? And then when they gave the sign, we're like, oh, fuck it. Looks like we're still playing. But it was funny because like we're like, oh, well, it was a good season. It was a good run. And then boom, we're still playing. So it caught a lot of us off guard. But it was a really cool experience, though.
Awesome. Well, Trae, thanks for joining us today. Be sure to check out the Sportsman Channel next Tuesday at 3:00 Central for the premiere of that. And good luck in the future with your future endeavors and your health. And we appreciate you joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey,